Anderson Cooper, AC 360, CNN weeknights 10 Eastern.
I mean, you've been here pretty much nonstop for the last 6 months. When people say, look, they don't see progress on the ground, what do you say to them?
Well, you know, first of all, you had a disaster that was beyond anybody's experience, including all the aid workers that I had come to know over the time here. This was so, the initial chaos, I've come to have a greater understanding. Since that time, what's become clearer and clearer is the chess play that goes on between the powers that be, whether it be an international aid agency, the government, and other governments. And so what happens is that we forget, for example, when they're concerned about the politics of the election coming up and this or that. Well,
There's going to be an election in November.
Right, and one of the things that we can focus most on is that we've got to trust the Haitian people to elect that person and make that choice. So whatever policies or whatever grants are given and those things should not be limited to prior to that election or prior to a new administration. They should be administratable with some kind of a future. But another thing is that we're facing now, is what I've watched in the ARC, is that there's become a kind of virtual ghost town of the international doctors influx. And that doesn't have anything to do with politics. It's got to do with the will and the understanding that the community in the United States and other countries have to have, that the need has not gotten any less.
So you're not seeing enough doctors volunteering to come here, is what you're saying?
Right, because what's happening now? No, I mean it's an incredible shortage.
It's not in the media. It's out of people's minds. It's out of people's
minds, and I guess the romance is gone in some way. But in the meantime, you've got, for example, General Hospital down here, the Central Hospital in Port-au-Prince. It's a virtual ghost town. And what we have to remember is that if we're going to do more than put a Band-Aid on this before it festers and becomes the same problem again, there's going to have to be training that's going to be done by international doctors. So it's not just care, which is certainly needed because Haiti started with a shortfall of doctors.
How frustrating. I mean, I was stunned that we got hit up for this 20% tax at the airport and bringing in relief supplies. How common is that among relief agencies?
Well, the president put together a commission to expedite on the behalf of certain legitimate NGOs that are registered in the country. That's a fairly new thing, because what had happened is you had the emergency phase, and then you get into the rebuild phase, and once it becomes that, both in the international community's mind and the Haiti government's mind, then you're leaving it to an infrastructure that in the beginning already had more than it could handle, and now it's got all of these needs piled on top of it with the earthquake. So I think that I would like to know, for example, has USAID offered administrative aid to the Department of Finance? If so, why would the Ministry of Finance not accept it if they hadn't accepted it? Because we know that there's a lot of difficulty there. They're under enormous pressure. And so those kind of practical things, and I wonder about whether or not they're political. The corruption issues that come up, that are all of these seem to be all things that are used from the outside. From the inside, that might be their own concerns, and I don't know enough about it except to say that the government of Haiti doesn't have anything to be corrupt with.
Right. A lot of the money is not going to them. I mean, some money is being given by donors to help them have like a cost of administration, but this money is being funneled. The donor money is being funneled through President Clinton's commission that he's co-chairing with the Prime Minister.
That's right. And then, but we have also these immediate needs and things that are kind of no-brainers. When we had the case of the boy with diphtheria, and it took 15 hours to identify where the medicine was that was necessary for that.
You were driving around with this little boy for hours trying to get him life-saving care, and he ultimately died.
Yesterday, General Hospital, again, the central hospital in this city that's under siege, Medishare, one of the primary NGOs, if not the primary medical NGO in the country, certainly in terms of trauma. They don't know where to get blood.
They don't know where to get blood.
They don't know where to get blood. Now, for example, if an outside organization has it, they should be proactively going to all of these major hospitals and major clinics and telling them, here's where you get this. But they're calling out to all of their contacts, as we did that night. And nobody knows at this stage where to get blood. Patients have died about weekly as a result.
So that's a coordination organization problem among many groups.
Well, my understanding is that, and I don't know the authority that they have, my understanding is that the Haitian Red Cross has the control of the blood bank, and when Medishare in particular was not able to They now have the facility to collect blood, and they are willing to distribute, to stockpile, and to be yet another, so it's decentralized and people have access to it, and they were denied by the Haitian Red Cross.
You basically maxed out your funds hiring heavy equipment to just start moving rubble and try to get people out of the camp and back into their neighborhoods. Yeah. And that's the kind of decisive action that needs to happen across the board.
Yeah, what happened is we met Paul Vallis, and he started talking about how he was going to develop schools and was working very closely with the Ministry of Education and Madame Preval, and who I'm very impressed by, both of them. We toured an area with Paul Vallis, and he felt that he could help putting schools in. As we know, these parents pay 45% of their annual wage for their children's school. They care about it.
And that's a key thing, to get people into a neighborhood.
So once we knew we could do that, we could bring medical clinics in, we said to hell with it. Let's start moving this rubble, because these were things that other organizations were responsible for. They weren't doing it. And so let's get some heavy equipment and go.
What's your website that people can find out more information?
It's www.jphro.org.
All right, Sean, appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks very much.